All right, welcome back to the Deep Dive, everybody. Today we are diving headfirst into some pretty fascinating news surrounding Trump's second inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking some potentially big developments for both U.S. China relations and the world of big tech.
It is it's fascinating how these two worlds are kind of colliding.
Right. So first up, let's talk about this invitation that's been making headlines.
Yeah.
So Trump has invited Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration on January 20th, 2025.
Wow.
Now, this would be unprecedented because no Chinese leader has ever attended a U.S. presidential inauguration.
Yeah, in fact, no foreign head of state has attended a U.S. presidential inauguration in over a century.
Really?
Yeah, it's a long-standing tradition.
Wow, so this is a pretty big deal then.
Absolutely.
So what are people saying about this invitation?
Well, it's been generating a lot of buzz, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Some experts are calling it a potential game changer, a chance for, a fresh start in U.S. China relations, while others are calling it a major breach of protocol, and they're skeptical that Xi would even accept.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how that plays out.
Xi Jinping himself has actually never attended a foreign inauguration since becoming China's leader. He's always opted to send a representative instead.
Interesting. Now, it's funny because I was thinking about this, and I was remembering those memes from Biden's inauguration a few years back with everyone bundled up in the freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine Xi Jinping having to endure that?
Yeah, that would be quite a sight.
Right.
But, it's not just about the optics here. It's really about understanding the message behind this invitation.
What do you think Trump is trying to signal with this invitation?
Well, that's a great question, and one that we're going to try to unpack here today.
Okay, so we've got this historic invitation hanging out there, and then on top of that, we've got news that Meta has donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund.
$1 million.
A cool million.
Wow, that's quite a gesture.
Right. It's certainly raising eyebrows, especially given the history between Trump and Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah, their relationship has been pretty rocky, to say the least.
To say the least. I mean, we've had Trump threatening to imprison Zuckerberg, banning him from Facebook and Instagram after the January 6th Capitol riot.
Right.
Trump even labeled Meta an enemy of the people at one point.
It's been a very public and very contentious relationship.
It has been. So this donation is a pretty interesting twist.
It really is.
So what do you make of this sudden shift?
Well, it's definitely worth exploring.
Okay.
There was that dinner between Trump and Zuckerberg at Mar-a-Lago back in November.
Right.
And during that meeting, Zuckerberg reportedly expressed a desire to support national renewal.
National renewal.
Yeah, and now we have this massive donation to Trump's inauguration fund.
So some people are saying that this is Meta trying to smooth things over with the incoming administration.
Right. They could be trying to gain some influence, maybe avoid some potential regulatory headaches down the road.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's not uncommon for corporations to use political donations as a way to curry favor with those in power.
Right.
It's kind of like an investment.
An investment in access.
Exactly.
And speaking of access, we read that Zuckerberg actually gave Trump a private demonstration of Meta's smart glasses and even gifted him a pair.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right. So is that typical inauguration swag, or is there something more going on here?
Well, it definitely suggests that Meta is making a concerted effort to build a relationship with the incoming administration.
Right.
The question is this a genuine attempt at reconciliation, or is it something more calculated, a power play?
Yeah, what's the motivation here, and what could it mean for the rest of us?
Those are the big questions.
They are. So we've got this unexpected invitation to Xi Jinping,
Yeah.
$1 million donation from Meta, and a whole lot of unanswered questions.
It's a fascinating web of events.
It is, and we're going to try to untangle it all for you right here on the Deep Dive.
Stay tuned.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to dive deeper into all of this.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's try and unpack this invitation to Xi Jinping a little bit more.
Yeah, it's still really bugging me.
Right. It's definitely a head scratcher.
So, I mean, if we take a step back, a formal invitation to a U.S. presidential inauguration, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not something you just throw around lightly.
No, it's a highly symbolic gesture.
It signals, respect, a desire for strong diplomatic relations, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So why extend that kind of invitation to someone like Xi Jinping? I mean, someone who Trump has had some pretty public disagreements with.
Yeah, you'd think he'd save those invitations for his buddies.
Right. So what's the strategy here? What's he thinking?
Well, there are a few possibilities.
Okay, let's hear 'em.
One possibility is that maybe Trump genuinely wants to reset U.S. China relations. Maybe he sees this as an olive branch,
Hmm,
a chance to kind of start fresh.
a clean slate.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, wouldn't that be a huge shift in his approach?
It would be.
And his first term was all about tariffs and trade wars
Mm.
and some pretty harsh rhetoric towards China.
Oh, yeah. He definitely didn't hold back.
He did not. So this would be a pretty dramatic reversal.
It would, and that's what makes this invitation so intriguing.
Okay, so maybe it's a genuine attempt at diplomacy?
Maybe.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Right, I like where you're going with this.
What if this is more about optics than actual diplomacy?
That's definitely another possibility.
I mean, it could be a way for Trump to project this image of global leadership.
Right.
Like, he's the only one who can bring together these two superpowers.
The great unifier.
Right. Like, look at me. I'm the only one who can bridge this divide.
It definitely feeds into that narrative of Trump as, the master negotiator.
Right. The deal maker.
New deal maker on the world stage.
And let's not forget the potential impact on, domestic politics.
Oh, yeah, good point.
A photo op with Xi Jinping at his inauguration that could be a powerful image for Trump.
It could be a big win for him back home.
Okay, so it could be a play for both international and domestic audiences.
Absolutely.
This is getting more and more complicated.
It is. There are a lot of layers to this.
And we can't forget the possibility that maybe Trump and Xi actually have a genuine personal connection.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, Trump has praised Xi's leadership in the past.
He has.
And he said they have great chemistry.
So maybe there's more to their relationship than meets the eye.
Right, maybe it's not all just bluster and posturing.
Maybe there's some genuine respect there.
Okay, so we've considered a few possibilities for why Trump might have invited Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
But what happens if Xi says no?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, what if he just declines the invitation?
That could be very interesting.
How so?
Well, a rejection from Xi would be a pretty big diplomatic blow for Trump.
Right, it would be like a public slap in the face.
Oh. Exactly, and it could be seen as a sign that China isn't interested in, playing by Trump's rules.
So it's not just about whether Xi shows up or not.
Right.
It's about the message that sends to the rest of the world.
Exactly. It could be a sign of cooperation or a sign of escalating tensions.
And those tensions could have real-world consequences.
We could, absolutely.
We're talking trade wars, military posturing, all that stuff.
Yeah, it could have a ripple effect across the globe.
Wow. So this one invitation could really set the tone for the whole U.S. China relationship.
It could.
No pressure, Xi Jinping.
Right.
All right, so let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about that $1 million donation from Meta.
All right, back to the world of big tech.
Yeah, that one really surprised me.
It was a big number.
It was, and it just seemed kind of out of character given all the bad blood between Trump and Zuckerberg.
Yeah, they haven't exactly been best buds.
And especially considering that Meta's facing, all these antitrust lawsuits, privacy concerns, debates about their role in elections.
Right, they've got a lot on their plate right now.
So why throw $1 million at Trump's inauguration? What's the angle?
Well, it's definitely a move that's sparked a lot of speculation.
Yeah, no kidding.
Some people are saying that it's a straight-up attempt to win over the new administration.
Right, like maybe they're thinking if we give them enough money, they'll go easy on us with those regulations.
Yeah, kind of a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of deal.
Right, I can see that.
It wouldn't be the first time a corporation has tried to buy influence.
But it's also a pretty big PR move, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, Meta's image has taken a beating in recent years.
It has.
So maybe this donation is part of a bigger strategy to try and, repair their image.
Right, make themselves look good.
Exactly.
It's like they're trying to say, hey, we're a patriotic American company. We support our president.
Right. We're not the big bad tech giant that everyone's afraid of.
Yeah, we're on your side.
And remember those smart glasses that Zuckerberg gifted to Trump?
Oh, yeah, the ones he gave him a demo of?
I mean, is that just standard inauguration swag, or is there something more to it?
It's pretty high-tech swag, I'd say.
It is.
It definitely suggests that Meta is trying to get in good with the Trump administration.
Right. They want a seat at the table.
They want to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so we've got potential political maneuvering, a desire to influence policy, and a PR campaign all rolled into one.
It's a pretty complex situation.
It is. But how does this affect us? The average person who's just trying to live their life.
Well, that's the thing, right? These events might seem kind of distant and abstract.
Like they don't really have anything to do with us.
Right, but the truth is they can have very real consequences for our everyday lives.
How so?
Well, think about the economy, for example.
Okay.
If U.S. China relations go south, it could lead to trade wars, disruptions in supply chains, and all of that could lead to higher prices for consumers.
Ooh, I see what you're saying.
That new phone or laptop you've been saving for could suddenly become a lot more expensive.
So basically, a diplomatic spat on the other side of the world could end up hitting me right in the wallet.
It could.
That's kind of scary.
It is. It just shows how interconnected the world really is.
And what about Meta? How could their actions affect us?
Well, think about the internet, social media.
Huh?
If Meta gets cozy with the Trump administration, they could have a lot of influence over regulations around data privacy, content moderation, online speech.
So they could be shaping the rules of the digital world.
They could.
And that would have a huge impact on how we live our lives online.
It would.
Wow, this is getting pretty heavy.
It is. It's important to understand that these events are not just happening in a vacuum,
Right, they're shaping the world we live in.
both online and offline.
Okay, so we've got global power plays, tech giants vying for influence, and real-world consequences for everyday people.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. It's like we're living in a political thriller.
It definitely has that feel to it.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear, what it all means moving forward.
Yeah, where do we go from here?
Exactly. So in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to try to pull all of this together.
Okay.
We'll distill everything we've discussed into some key takeaways.
Sounds good.
And we'll leave you with a thought-provoking question to consider as these events continue to unfold.
Stay tuned.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive. And honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
It has been. We went from a surprising guest list to $1 million donation and somehow ended up talking about the future of the internet.
It's amazing how all these things are connected.
It is. So before we get too lost in all the details, let's try and bring it all back together.
Okay, good idea.
What are the key takeaways from this deep dive? What
Right.
should our listeners be thinking about?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Trump is willing to shake things up. Even when it comes to long-standing diplomatic norms.
He doesn't play by the rules.
He doesn't, and that invitation to Xi Jinping is a perfect example.
That's a big gamble.
It is. It could signal a major shift in U.S. China relations, but it could also backfire spectacularly.
Right. If she decides to decline the invitation,
Exactly.
then it's a whole different ballgame.
It is. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
And then there's Meta,
Yeah.
using their money to try and cozy up to the incoming administration.
Yeah. That $1 million donation definitely raised some eyebrows.
It did. They're clearly trying to gain some influence.
Oh, yeah. They want a seat at the table when those policy decisions are being made.
And they're trying to improve their image at the same time.
Right. They want to be seen as the good guys.
The patriotic American company.
Yeah. Not the big bad tech giant.
So we've got all these powerful people making these calculated moves, but what does it all mean for us? The average person just trying to live their life.
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
It is.
Because at the end of the day, the decisions made in Washington and Beijing and Silicon Valley, they have a real impact on our lives.
They do.
They can affect our wallets, our privacy, even our freedoms.
So what should we be paying attention to? What are the signs that these events are actually having an impact?
Well, keep an eye on the news, obviously. Pay attention to any developments in U.S.-China relations. Are they making any new trade deals? Are they signing any military agreements? And pay attention to the tone of their rhetoric. Are they being cooperative or confrontational?
Okay. And what about Meta? What should we be watching out for there?
Look for any changes in their policies around data privacy, content moderation, political advertising. Are they getting any special favors from the Trump administration? Are they influencing any policy decisions?
So basically, we need to be aware of what's happening and think critically about the potential consequences.
Exciting.
We can't just sit back and assume everything will be okay.
We need to be informed and engaged.
Well said. And that's what the deep dive is all about, right? We're here to help you understand the world around you.
We want to empower you to make informed decisions.
Exactly. So as you go about your day, remember that the decisions made by those in power, they have a ripple effect.
They can reach all the way down to your own front door.
So stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking questions.
Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
And until next time, keep diving deep.